Hello and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I am your host. Today we have a wonderful show for you. It's very current, it's very informative, it's very important. So for those of you who need to get up and take care of business, please do it in a hurry because you don't want to miss a moment. Also, while you're at it, bring yourself a pencil and some paper because you may want to write a few things down. Okay, without much further ado, the subject of today is, as I said, very current and most likely will go on for some time to come, so you will see a follow-up show for sure. And it's very, very important. We are all involved, especially we women. And I don't want to tease you, but we are talking about the Afghan woman. I have some wonderful guests with me. All of my guests are from Afghanistan. They came here at a certain time, which they will talk about. And actually they're here to talk about Afghanistan from before the Taliban rule or the Russian rule, and what they're doing now and their view on the Afghan woman. And I just chime in and listen to them. Okay, I don't want to hold you in suspense. Let me introduce you to my guests. With me today I have Maimuna. Now, I may not pronounce her name right, but she will introduce herself and give you a brief background. Maimuna, so nice to have you here.
Yes.
Please tell the audience just a little bit about yourself because we will go into it later on.
My name is Maimuna Sahrai. I left Afghanistan 20 years ago during the invasion of Russia. Before that, I was working at the Ariana Afghan Airlines, and prior to that, I was a professor at the Kabul University.
Well, I know we have a lot to talk about, so I'm eager to hear from a woman from Kabul in the city, because you know we hear so much about the women in the countryside. So I'm really looking forward to what we have to say. Okay, now you brought two very special guests. One of them is your daughter.
Yes.
Okay, and that's Lila. Lila, to have you here is great. So tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
My name is Lila Amin, and as my mom Maimuna said, we escaped Afghanistan at the time of invasion of Russia, which was 20 years ago. And I went to school back home, and I came here in 1983.
Well, again, we have a lot to talk about because you've been here for a while, but you know a lot from over there.
Yeah.
And our third guest today is Maimuna's niece, Benafsha. Nice to have you here too. Nice. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I had to really practice on that.
I know.
Benafsha, why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Benafsha Siraj, and I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. I left the country in 1989, and I was a student in medical university.
Okay, so we have three very, very interesting women here. They all seem to be quite educated, basically contrary what we hear or what we hear as of late, because no one can really imagine what it's like not to have education, not to be able to go to school, to be covered up from head to toe, to be behind black windows. But we want to uncover all of that today. So first of all, I turn to Maimuna, and before we go into all of that, let's talk a little bit about Afghanistan per se. Where is Afghanistan? How is it located? And let's get a little bit of the history out.
Afghanistan is located in the middle of Asia, and this is a very, very ancient country. It has a history about 5,000 years. According to some Oriental historians, that I have the references if somebody wants, like later on, maybe I can give it to you. The first occupants of this country was called Aryana or Arya. This was the first immigrants of white race or Caucasians, and they got settled there. They started farming, and they called their name, the city Balkh, which means the mother of the cities. And from there, some of them started immigrating to west and east. Some went to Europe or Iran or India, and some stayed there.
God. So actually Afghanistan has a long history. I mean,
they were not called Afghanistan, but it has a very long history.
Yeah.
It went through a lot of wars. Alexander the Great wanted to conquer Afghanistan, and he couldn't.
That's really going back in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after that, we had the British try to conquer it. And they said that, as they say, it's easy to conquer Afghanistan, but it's impossible to keep it. And then Russian tried, and they couldn't do it. So, and now
here we are.
Here we are.
God, right. So when did you leave Afghanistan?
I left Afghanistan 20 years ago. We went to our neighbor country, Pakistan, and after 10 months staying there, we came to United States as immigrant.
Okay, we go into that a little later. Now, let's go a little bit more back to Afghanistan. Like their religion is
Islam.
It's Islam.
Yes.
Now, why do I have Muslims here? I mean,
Yeah, you call the people Muslim. The religious is
people are the
Islam.
Muslims,
Yeah.
which is Islam, and
Religion is Islam.
and you go by the Quran.
Yeah.
So when you grow up, you learn all
Right.
about the Quran and you live by it,
Right.
more or less.
Right.
Okay. And as far as, let's go back to the women, as far as the women's role going way back to the early ages, I mean, we all basically know that the women in the Eastern world do not have much to say, but does that go back to those days? I mean, in the early ages, I mean, were the women always sort of oppressed, or?
Mostly, around the world, the women was kind of second citizen. But in some parts of Afghanistan, even if the women were not educated, the family were looking up high to their mothers and grandmothers, and if there was any problem, they were seeking their advice and listening to them.
So the woman did have a role.
Yeah, they had, and also they were helping the families with economically. They were farming and raising, cultivating, and weaving carpets and sewing.
Right.
They were always going shoulder to shoulder to them.
When you're saying that, I remember we had a neighbor from a countryside that they came and asked for work and stuff, and they were helping us. She had like 6 children, and they were very young when her husband passed away. And I remember a story she told me that she was pregnant, and she went to the barn, had her baby by herself, that the whole thing, and washed up and washed the baby, came back, start cooking, and went to milk the cow, and that's the way the life was. They were very strong, but they were kind of in the background and humble.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Oh my God,
yeah,
that
had
is
very strong
survivor instinct, right? Also, now you three you seem to be very educated. Now, was that the norm before the invasions of the Russians or during the Russian invasion, and before the Taliban kind of took all your rights away? I mean, or is it because you're from the city, or?
No, actually everybody could go to school or universities. It was free there. So people from country could, go to the school that they were there, or they could come to the city and go to universities. So they have their own choices. I mean, if they wanted, there was always opportunities for them.
And she's right. The education was free in Afghanistan,
Yes.
from kindergarten to university.
And
Yeah.
you even became a professor. You taught at the university.
Yes, I was sent to United States to get my master's degree in education, elementary education, and went back to university.
And then you taught.
And my first language was English. Because I was, I started talking here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God! Now, like you were a medical student.
Yeah.
And you were trying to go to
university.
But
yeah.
she was taking part in demonstration against communism,
Uh-oh.
so they didn't
You
let
were the
her go
rebel.
to university.
I was, yeah. Now that I think of it, I get chills because how could I do that? It has to be hidden. And I remember one time, people, as soon as they saw me talking out and discussing stuff, they invited me to the opposite side and stuff. And I had magazines and newsletters brought home with hiding it from my mom and dad because that's very dangerous. And they were searching houses. And I was like dying. So what I did, we had chimneys, and I stuffed everything up there and closed it. And thank God they didn't go to the chimney. And I did not tell my mom and dad.
It seems to me like what you did, and then what the women did in just recently under the Taliban rule. You were very clever. You had the school set up in a room, and that type of. I mean, it's not funny. It's quite serious, but it goes to show that women in general have a survivor instinct.
Yes.
Have they're really looking out for surviving. Okay, now. I know a lot of, we have to kind of skip and jump a little bit because time goes very, very fast, and I'd like to cover as much as we can. And like we said, we went to the early ages and the women in the background, but yet they were like family, pulling the family together, and then suddenly. Suddenly something happened that women were oppressed. Like all of a sudden women had to go back to the living like it's in the 15th century or 17th century, while the world went on into the 21st century. Why did you leave before all of this happened? I mean, you could have, like you got your education, and then you decided to leave.
Because you couldn't. You had your education. I was working till I left, but you didn't have the freedom of speech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't have the freedom. You were always afraid. You were even afraid of your neighbors, or you were afraid of your colleagues. They may tell on you, cheat on you. So the life was under a lot of pressure. We couldn't even be truthful with your small kids because you were afraid they may go outside and repeat what you said at home.
Yeah.
And you will get killed, or you will get imprisoned. And especially when I didn't let my daughter go to universities, my husband couldn't take it anymore.
Unless I remember the conversation my dad had and talked to the education department for me to go, and they said, well, there's other way that you can do that, to join the Communist Party, and then you can go to any school you want.
Yeah, even going
sounds like a blackmail.
Going to university, they were trying, you have to join the party, the government, like the Communist Party.
Okay.
You were always under pressure, they always did it. And they said, we had people, people like a student who didn't want to study, they would just join the party, and then they didn't have to pass the exam. They would go to the next class. So they were doing all those things for you to,
Right, because I did read about that that you could get all your education and everything was taken care of, but now I find out it was a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, and
We're
then
talking about leaving Afghanistan. We had to escape from the border because if we were discovered, then we would be in jail. So this is the piece of luggage that I carried with me.
that's all you could carry.
Yeah, I had to cover my face and wear different kind of clothing, and I had one change of clothing. That's why I kept this all these years.
My God, this is
You
something.
put all
This is
your
my
clothes
luggage.
in, right?
Yeah,
And tie
and
it
just
up.
tie it.
We call it
this is-
boscha.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we see them now on television, right? The way they
Yeah.
Yeah.
carry, except as much as they can take. That is something that is so precious. I
That's
believe
why
that's
I
like
always keep them so.
it's right. My God, I bet that brings back a lot of memories. Okay, well let's go on. Then came the Taliban's. What did that mean for women suddenly? All of a sudden, I mean, there we had
think they
a
don't-
cover up, the
yeah.
burqa they call it.
Yeah.
And the way I see it, it wasn't just a piece of clothing; it meant oppression.
Right.
So now you had to go into hiding. And tell me a little bit about it. Like, I mean, from what we know about it.
It's like you lose your identity. You become like a piece of furniture. There's no name. You cannot breathe. You know, they were all imprisoned in their own homes.
The first thing they did, they closed the women schools, and
They could not
closed
go
down
to
the
work.
uni-
Yeah,
they couldn't. They were told you can't go to work, and university was closed down for women, but the men went and did all that, and there was a lot of
What did they
widows.
expect women to do besides, sitting at home? What did they expect women to turn into?
The women doesn't exist for them.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Women didn't
Just-
exist.
I don't know, do the housework, cook, and
And you know what
stay
they did?
home
They
and-
pretend that they are protecting women.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said we are protecting the women. We respect the women so much that we want them back
Yeah.
Well,
behind the
it's like, and then naturally it went into the abuse,
Yeah.
more or less. Like,
Yeah.
the whole situation was really abuse of human rights. And I read an article on one of the women conferences, and Hillary Clinton said something I liked a lot. I mean, this goes back when they had the women's conference in Beijing. She said, and actually it was with reference to the Afghan women under the Taliban rule, human rights are women's rights. Women's rights are human rights. All humans are being born free and equal.
Right.
And this is really what it should be. Human rights abuses are criminal. They're not cultural. So we went on into that, and it's for you being from Afghanistan, it must have been, I mean, shocking to go through these
yes. And,
these 6-7 years of total abuse, total.
and it wasn't just that. They couldn't listen to the music. They couldn't watch any show. The kids couldn't play the very innocent games or fly a kite or nothing.
Yeah, for me, just to see the women walking on the streets in Afghanistan. I mean, first you were fascinated by the
Right,
clothing, but then later on what it meant, and just thinking about it right now. I mean, I'm hot from these lights, but
To be under the
Yeah, and even when you walk on the street, you're always scared that, like, you show off like just a part of your leg or foot, and they will jump on you and hit you, as we watch on TV. It's like, everything was so fearful for women.
That's why women were begging. The ones that were stopped going, they were told to stay home and don't work anymore. They had children to feed, and their husbands got killed or put in jail, so they had to beg. They begged for money, and that's what they did.
it's really chilling. It's chilling.
It is.
So
it is.
let's talk about the future. Now the wheel is lifted, more or less. everywhere? I mean, what does it mean? I understand some women are still quite scared
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
20 years of war, you lose the trust on any kind of
Yeah.
system or government. It takes time to come back. Now they have a choice, If they want to wear it, they have the freedom. They can wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they don't even now trust the stability of the situation.
Right.
They are just scared. What if they come back? What if I get in trouble again by not wearing my burqa? So they are still, I think, they are so scared that they won't do it.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that everything is okay, and then I think they will be happy to not wear it. But
Yeah.
right now they don't still
Oh, I
trust
understand that.
the situation.
And I'm sure it's also like it's the city women are probably much more prone to take it off
Yeah,
Right.
of
than
course.
the women in the
Yeah.
country.
Country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's still not safe, as you hear, the pockets are everywhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you never know.
Oh,
And
God.
that's
You know
why-
what happened to 30,000 Taliban? So they scattered among the people.
Right. So they could
They
still.
shift their beards. So
Yeah.
So you
how
don't
do
really
they
know.
Because there was no picture allowed, there was no TV allowed or anything, so nobody knows the faces of them to know that
That's right. Who
you
they
know,
are. That's
who
right.
they are. So
So they could be just right there.
Your neighbor and so, yeah.
You know what? I've just been giving a signal. We only have 5 minutes. I have a list of questions here I wanted to ask you, but I also let's quickly, because you were so kind to bring all these beautiful clothings, and they mean something, and this is what you used to wear instead of the burqa. And now look at your beautiful dress, and you told me earlier it was handmade by the
But the refugee people in the camp in Pakistan, they were allowed to make stuff so they could have an income, and each one of these were sewn by the hand.
It's
to this
absolutely
dress.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Just gorgeous.
It's my honor to wear this.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure. And this dress means something very special.
This belongs to my mom. She was a very active member of a women's charity organization. She was teacher of home economics, and then she became the head of a home economic departments. She remember the first time she wore this in a royal wedding.
God, that's unbelievable.
And how
yeah.
many
Yeah.
years could it be?
About 35, 40 years
But
ago.
I'm so glad you bought it, and that's so colorful too.
Yeah, that's actually my mom's dress. She used to wear it long ago, but it wasn't the only dresses that people, women wear. They were wearing just
Really?
regular clothes, but a special occasion, they if they wanted to
We
wear
grew
like
up
those
with
clothes.
westernized clothes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
We wear pants. I remember bell bottoms when they were in 70s. My
Yeah.
mom made me
Yeah.
pants like that, and we draw on our jeans.
My God,
Blue jeans,
that's hard to
yeah.
believe.
This is about
Oh,
40
that's-
years ago. My wedding dress is this is
My
the
God, without a veil and a regular
Yeah.
tuxedo.
was.
Yeah.
That's how it
God.
And
was.
white, the wedding dress
Well,
is
all I
white,
can
same
say,
with
I
the veil.
hope we're going to go back
Yes.
into that direction.
Yeah.
And quickly, now that we only have less
Yeah.
time, let's talk to the audience, and because we need to get involved. What can we do? How do we feel about it? I know you want to go over there, but
yes.
very brief, because
Yeah.
we don't have that
We
much
want
time.
to go and see what we can do for the country, make a survey. I was invited to association which they want to rebuild the Ariana Afghan airline, which was an international airline affiliated with the Pan American. We want to go there and see what we can do to rebuild that, and then bring all the suggestions to United Nations and to United States of America, because now especially Afghanistan needs an airline, because all the roads are destroyed.
Right, you need to get there.
To
Right.
get from one part to other part or travel around, we need an airline. And also a lot of people wants to go and see what they can do for the education. The
Very
schools are
important,
ruined.
What about
I would like to go back and help the orphanages, and that's kind of my dream to
Yeah.
go there and help them out because of all the wars. There's so many of them, and they showed the orphanages are getting better since things change after Taliban, but there's so much more to help them psychologically, emotionally.
Years of
Yeah.
years of work. And what do you think?
Especially the girls.
Actually, yeah, I hope the same thing. If I could do any help, I'd like to go back and do. And also, I have a message for the women who are in Afghanistan. I mean, it's easy for me to say from here, but for them to forget about what happened and have the courage to go for go for education, go work, go show to the world that you are still there and you want to go out and you want to work and you want to be educated, and don't let those people to put you at home and
Oppressive.
Yeah.
And look forward.
Well-
look forward to it. Forget what happened. I know it's hard and it's easy for me to say it from here,
Right.
but yeah.
Right.
But the
I
bright
hope you will
future
go
is
for
coming.
it. Yeah.
I tell you, this is, like I said at the very beginning, this is definitely something that we must follow up.
Yes.
And because it's so important and it's part of our life right now, and it will not go away.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad we could get this started. So we see each other in a few months again,
Sure.
because progress is going on as we speak.
Yeah.
And I am so glad you could make it. I really thank you for coming.
Thank you
And,
for having us
to
here.
my audience, I learned a lot. I think this is such a sensitive subject, and please see us again very soon, because we want to continue on this. And if you can help, like we said, I mean, there is so much shelters, organizations,
Yeah.
talk to us, call me, and we'll talk about it. So, and again, thank you for joining us. Thank you
Thank
too,
you for having
and for
Thank you.
being here. And we'll be
having
back.
us.
We have a
We'll be
joke.
back.
I don't know if you
Thank
have
you so
time or
much,
not.
and watch us again with another great topic next time. Bye-bye. This is so important.